Hey, thanks, guys. Hello, everybody. My name is Brent Schlenker. I am your correspondent from the U.S. for Learning Now TV. Today, I have a fantastic special opportunity for you to listen to the wonderful and amazing Snap Synapse, otherwise known as Sam Rogers, to tell us about the learning framework.
Yes.
Did I
And
get
there's
that right?
the digital learning asset framework. It's a way of structuring what it is that we make, the training media, the scalable training media that we make, and determining what's the best way to do that. And how do we know when it works and how do we know when it didn't work?
Awesome. So, what brought this about? What made you decide that this was an important thing to do?
Well, I've been doing learning and development consulting for quite a while now. Been in the L&D world for nearly 20 years, and there's the same kinds of problems that come up often. And so as part of this effort, I gathered about 30 people from around the world who are learning and development professionals that I respect, people that I'd met from speaking at conferences and such, and was trying to put together something that we can use as a platform to be able to better make, manage, and measure the training media that we make. Yeah, how it helps is being able to capture the business logic of what is it that's the business problem that we're trying to solve, not just on a course by course level or a curriculum or program level, but for the scope of this initial digital learning asset framework effort, to start with what's the smallest indivisible part of the training that we develop, which is media, which is that job aid. It is that video, or not the whole entire online course, but just the text that's there in that online course, the image that we use for reference within that online course, to be able to build up from there, but that every piece of media that we're making has a reason to exist, and that reason can actually be demonstrated for its learning value. That is, for helping people acquire a behavior or skill or fact that they are using to contribute value to the business. So what digital learning assets are media that accelerates the acquisition of a skill, concept, or fact for a specific reason. We make stuff to influence behavior within a target population. So within our group of learners. This isn't all of the things that are media for training, but rather all the things that we can demonstrate work and that these 5 principles apply to. The principles aren't the only thing. The principles are just the kind of the high level structure, but all the strategies, tactics, tools, and techniques that we use are kind of individual to our business. So, we have different learning management systems or development tools or ways that we use things to create training media and to manage that. But the principles of why we're making it, they have some common ground. And that's part of what this framework is about, is making sure that we keep that aligned so that we're working from the principles down, as opposed to just saying, well, we have this tool, so we're going to work on these things. As kind of an unnecessary limitation that boxes us into some corners about what it is that we can do, what it is that we can measure. So this is focusing at the principle level. You asked about what are those 5 core principles. The first one is about performance, determining basically what is out of scope for this framework. The knowledge gap is about what is in scope. So there's a lot of problems that can go on in the workplace, only some of which can be fixed by learning something new. And for any of the occasions in which learning something new will not solve a business problem, it doesn't probably make sense to make training for that, because it's not going to be able to solve that problem. At least with this initial scope for the digital learning asset framework, we're saying that's out of bounds. That's not something that it probably makes sense to keep track of these assets in a way that's more of like a permanent way where we're going to track that this has received an update, where we're going to do the additional work that it takes to capture that business logic. If we're just making throwaway stuff, which sometimes we need to do, it doesn't really warrant that extra level of being tracked in the digital learning asset framework. So that's what those first two principles are about. And the third one is about creating the best experience of that training media. What is it that people can actually see? What is it that people can actually do? Making sure that that really works for the target group of learners that we're aiming at. The impermanent asset is all about how that full life cycle is managed. Basically, that any learning that we create and the group that we create it for, both of these things are dynamic. They're moving. All knowledge changes over time. And the groups that we're serving them to change over time. So how do we manage that? And then finally, showing the business value, showing the learning value that we're creating, which is an expression of basically how fast the target learners can adopt that skill or behavior or fact that they need to do their jobs.
This is awesome. So the digital learning asset framework, I think I finally have the name right. And that's all from me for Learning Now TV. Back to you guys.